Verdict as to count one. We, the jury, find as to count one of the charge. The defendant is guilty of manslaughter. Did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the offense, the defendant personally used a firearm? Yes. So say we all, dated the 16th day of August, 2024.
Does either side wish to poll the jurors to be polled?
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, please poll the jurors by number only.
Juror number 1, is this your verdict? Juror number 2, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 3, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 4, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 5, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 6, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Folks, that was a decision in Florida in the case involving the white woman you saw there who shot and killed Ajike A.J. Owens. She fired the shot through a metal door when Owens came to confront her over her throwing some roller skates at her children. Susan Lorincz could very well spend up to 30 years in prison. The 6-person panel of 4 women and 2 men did not buy her self-defense claims. This, of course, was a story that took place last year. You see how she reacted. No remorse whatsoever, no reaction whatsoever. This was just a shocking story. We had Ben Crump on the other day, and he talked about how she wasn't even near the front door when she fired the shots. She fired the shots through a metal door, claiming that she feared for her life. Well, that was absolutely nonsense. And so now that all-white jury has convicted Susan Lorincz of that murder. And again, she could spend 30 years in prison. My panel, Michael Imhotep, hosts the African History Network show out of Detroit. Kelly Bethea, communications strategist out of D.C. Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi. Matt, I want to start with you. I mean, it's just so unfortunate. You know, here was a black mother trying to protect her child. She decides to knock on the door to confront this woman. This woman then fires her gun through the metal door. She wasn't like she was inside of the house. Go to the video. This was them right here leading her out of court. You can roll it back. After it was sentencing. No response whatsoever. I mean, this is a hardcore racist who didn't care that she took the life of someone.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm not surprised that she didn't react. First off, most of the time judges give an admonishment that nobody can scream or react in a demonstrative way. So that doesn't surprise me. And also her attorney may have told her not to react because if they intend to appeal, she doesn't want to give any impression that she, thinks she was in fact guilty. But to your point on the crux of the legal issue here, yeah, this is definitely an unreasonable case because self-defense in most places here in Texas, presumably in Florida, is based on a reasonableness finding. So essentially the 12 people of the jury have to determine whether the person's claim that they were in fear of their life is reasonable. And to your point earlier, this is per se unreasonable if you're not even at the door at the time that you fire. You're firing through a door, notwithstanding Castle Doctrine or any other law that may give you the right to use deadly force in protection of yourself at your home. It's still a reasonableness question. You don't get to just shoot and then ask questions later. It has to be reasonable. And the primary thing in this case, which I think you've already spoken to, is that there was a history of there being friction between the two of them. This seems like she just wanted to pull this trigger. And when this woman came, she killed her and then, tried to act as though she was in fear of her life, which is completely unreasonable. And I'm glad that the jury saw that here because sometimes, in Florida and in Texas and other places that are gun-toting places, people get more of the benefit of the doubt than they should. And I'm glad that this jury did not give it to her because the evidence very clearly contradicts that argument from what I've read.
Goes to show you, and I always say this, I say this a whole lot, that when it comes to folks with guns, people act differently when they have a gun and when they don't have a gun. And when they have a gun, all of a sudden it changes and there's this sort of this tough guy, this tough gal mentality. And she goes and retrieves her gun, no remorse whatsoever, fires that weapon, and she kills this mother. And now that one decision, and I often tell people, this is not just even when it comes to something like this here. I often say to people, before you make a decision, breathe. Because the decision that you could make in the heat of the moment could alter your life completely. And that's what happened here. This mother is dead. Her children don't have a mother. This woman could very well be spending her time in a maximum security prison in Florida.
Who is that question for me? I agree with everything you said, Roland. My thing is, I still have a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth regarding this case, because if I read the articles correctly, it took a couple days for her to be arrested, even though she admitted to killing her almost immediately after the incident occurred. And, blame it on whiteness, blame it on her looking elderly, what have you. But there's something to be said about be given the benefit of the doubt because of what you look like. And that I have that feeling that is what occurred here. And that is what's not fair. So it's like the family, I feel like got screwed over a little bit twice over, because one, it took so long for her to get arrested, and two, the district attorney didn't push for a murder charge, even though they according to these articles, they very well could have. So it just feels like justice was served to the extent that they felt like justice should be served, as opposed to the latter being they threw the book at her. And I don't think that's what occurred here. And it could have. Before I go to Michael, Matt, give us some perspective on what Achille just said there. Just from your perspective, why a DH may choose not to pursue a murder charge as opposed to going for the manslaughter charge.
So first, I want to speak to the arrest part, and I'm really glad Kelly mentioned that. I think that is part and parcel with exactly what I'm talking about. In certain states and in certain places where people are unreasonable, frankly, a lot of times, when somebody uses deadly force, particularly with a firearm at their house, they start from the standpoint of, it was justified in the way it may not be if you and I are at a public place and I shoot you there, right? Not at my home. So a lot of times these arrests don't happen immediately, and that can be because the police are giving someone the benefit of the doubt when they wouldn't give other people the benefit of the doubt. And that very often dovetails with race, maybe gender in certain circumstances. But in this circumstance, they might have thought, here's an old white woman, we're going to take her at her word. We're not going to arrest her now, which is crazy because that's not how they normally work, especially where there's been an admission. However, as it relates to manslaughter versus murder, I was actually wondering that myself. I don't practice in Florida, so I don't know how their statute works. But in Texas, especially, you can get a lesser included finding on a jury charge. So what that means is if I charge somebody with murder as a prosecutor and the evidence comes out, and for some reason I think we should also get the jury charged on manslaughter, I can ask for that. But you normally only do that in the circumstance where there's a question about the mens rea or there's a questionable piece of evidence. This case, you don't have that. You have an admission, you have it very clearly happening, and most importantly, you have it happening after a long series of conflict. So from the mental state standpoint, in Texas, the law is intentional, knowingly, or recklessly, murder somebody, but here intentionally or knowingly for murder, this is intentional. You went to retrieve a weapon. You fired a weapon through a door. It was a weapon that was fired at someone with whom you already had conflict. That's about as intentional as it gets. So why they sought manslaughter, I don't know. Maybe they tried to give her a little benefit of the doubt because she admitted it. But, this is a circumstance where it's malicious. It's per se malicious. It's per se evil. And I don't see why you don't seek murder charges here. But there may be some nuance in the Florida law that I'm unaware of that explains that.
Michael?
Yeah, Roland, I remember when this story broke in 2023. It was June of 2023, I think, when we first heard about it. And it was a tragedy then. And if I remember correctly, Miss Owens' son was next to her when she was shot. And, I worry about the children and wonder how they're doing as well, because I know they're going to need some therapy behind this tragedy. It's good that we got a conviction today. Ms. Lorincz can face up to 30 years in prison. But one of the things that came into play in this case. So one, this is Florida. We know Florida is a former Confederate state, a deep history of racism. Two, Florida is the state where the stand your ground law started. That was the first state to have a stand your ground law. And we know that law also came up during Trayvon Martin. If I remember correctly, it the ruling in the case wasn't based upon stand your ground, but it did come up in the conversation. So, and looking at the stories on this and the piece from the New York Times, Ms. Lorincz yelled racial slurs, at the children before Ajike Owens went to her house to find out what was going on, et cetera. So, this is just a tragedy all the way around. But I would be interested to find out what type of news did Ms. Lorincz, what was her main source of news? Was it Fox News? Was it one of these right-wing news organizations? Did she sit up and listen to conservative talk radio all day? Because I think that very well could have influenced her behavior.
Well, there's been nothing that's even suggest that in terms of what she watched, what she listened to.
I was asking a question.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that never even came up. So it's not like that was even that wasn't even a part of the proceedings this week. So no one can answer that question because it didn't come up. So it's not like that actually came up during the court. Bottom line is, you got some folks who may not listen to any news, and they just some racist folks who got no problem killing anybody. I think about that crazy fool in New York State where this couple pulled into a driveway. It was the wrong driveway, and this fool came out firing, shot and killed the woman, and then he went to prison. You just got some crazy, deranged people out there who, no matter what they watch or listen to, they're just nuts. And so now she's convicted, and she's going to sit her behind in that jail, and she's going to think a long time. And I hope they give her the maximum sentence as a result of her shameful actions and what she did here. Taking the life of this mother was just unbelievable and shocking and stunning, and now she's going to pay the ultimate price. Well, not the ultimate price, but the ultimate price is frankly death. But we'll see what the sentencing is in this case.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.